Okay, so hello, my name is Dean, and I am here with my friend and fitness partner. I don't know what to call you yet. My friend John, and we are recording what I guess is the first episode of the audio component to a project we're undertaking that is going to be fitness focused, but that we actually don't totally know exactly what forms it is going to take. So I think today what we're here to talk about is how we got here and what we're interested in working on together, and how broadcasting that work might facilitate our efforts and also like create a different meaning about the project into itself. And so I think maybe we should start by talking about who we are and how we got here together. As I said, my name is Dean. I'm a social worker in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and I'm a fitness enthusiast, and that I spend a lot of time at this gym that we're working out of, which is called Dean Crossfit. And I have no formal training in this, but I am interested in the ways that fitness and mental health go together, and I'm trying to use the facility that we have here to expand the things that I have found beneficial in this space for other people for free. John, do you want to talk a bit about who you are and why you're here?
I'm John, and I'm here to refine an idea about creating more socialization through fitness and movement, and to have deeper personal experiences that take us back into our bodies.
So my recollection of like how we've come to be here together essentially is that part of this for me is that I went through a breakup last year that was totally devastating. And when that happened, as that does often happen, I was in that moment sort of like psychologically cracked open and had other parts of myself. You know, you're like in so much pain and your brain is kind of like on overdrive trying to figure out like, why did this happen to me? How can I stop it from ever happening again? And inside of that, I felt like I had access to parts of myself that were otherwise cut off. And one of those was, so I'd come to the gym for a long time as part of an Olympic lifting team, and that was fun, and I liked that. I still like that. But part of that was realizing for me that it was okay for me to accept the level of vanity that I was admitting to by saying I wanted to come here and do bodybuilding. And that's not to say that I am a bodybuilder. I'm a pretty skinny person, but the capacity to like admit that to myself and then engage in that project was incredibly healing. And there was something about being able to accept that part of myself that felt really powerful and freeing. And so I start off on this, I get interested in bodybuilding, and then I'm coming into the gym to do that. And one of the days that I was doing that, John, who is a strong looking person, was here at the same time. And so we would hang out and work out together and also talk about what was going on in our lives, how that was showing up in the fitness space, and like the interaction between self and the environment. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I remember it was last year actually that it was like in the beginning of the summer that you had a lot of things that were kind of coming up for you on more personal levels as well. And I'm always excited to talk about stuff that's outside of movement. I think because I've been doing this like training and gymnastics and dance and all that stuff for so long that like that technical aspect I don't have it perfect, but I have it well enough that like I come in and I do the work and I see progress. And I start to think, what other ways could I see progress in my life that's outside of like the physical? And then I started to think about how can I encode ideas and emotions in my body while I'm doing exercises. Because while we're doing the exercises, we must be thinking about something, whether it's like the actual movement and the technical aspect of it, or maybe there's other stuff that's also underneath that. So I think that's a big part of what I started to observe and like try and understand while we were training alongside each other and riffing ideas back and forth.
So we have carved out a nice little space for ourselves in this gym on Friday afternoons. Hi, Philip. And we're recording a podcast. Is that what this is? Yeah. No, it's okay. You're welcome to be part of it. We want your participation. And so John and I, we had this space and time in the gym that we were both enjoying. And I brought up the idea to John that I was trying to find somewhere in my life where I could be volunteering my time. And that I would like that to be around fitness. And I'm a mental health social worker, and I wanted it to be different than that kind of emotional labor, but I wanted it to be aligned with that work, but not necessarily the same kind of work. And then John said, what about doing, like, we have this time that we both really like at the gym, what about just trying to expand this to include more people? And that was really exciting to me.
And I remember, Phil, you were actually, I'll let you go after this, I promise. But I remember that you were there in the beginning because it was summertime and the garage door was open, and you would be doing some of the workouts. And you actually, what was nice is you wrote me into doing some of the CrossFit workouts that I never do. And I remember I told you a little bit, but a part of it was that I didn't want to get my heart rate up to that intensity. And then I thought more like metaphorically how my heart has been hurting for a couple of years. And there was something about you extending your hand out and saying, hey, you should do this workout, even if it's like for 10 minutes. That was really heartwarming. And I think on that level, help my heart heal a little bit. So, I mean, that's a little bit too soft, but yeah.
So it seems to me, John, that like what we're agreeing to, so what we've agreed to is that we want to use this time and this space. We like the vibe that we've created, and we want to call people into that. So we're trying to get the gym to let us have people come here for free from the community, right? And also members, if they want to come and do this with us. The people who own this gym seem interested in that. Although I haven't gotten an official like, yes, go ahead on this. It seems like that's going to happen. And so we're moving ahead with both a practical program here that exists that people could come participate in. And then you have an idea that out of that, a digital world could be created that would be some like audio like this, or I don't know actually what you envision.
Yeah, that's a really good segue, because that was the other component that I've realized within the past couple years. A lot of people are starting to leave their bodies in a way because of the time that they spend online through a lot of either just watching television or a lot of like social media consumption. And so I realized that more attention is being put into those platforms, and I think that's awesome. But how do we create digital off-ramps for people to be in their bodies? And so it's like, okay, if the attention is on these platforms, then why don't we, if we're clever enough and we have enough intelligence to kind of create something that lets people know, hey, we exist here digitally, but also you can come to this physical place. And I think it's a deeper interactive thing than what's really going on right now. Because when you consume like Instagram, you just see the person, and maybe you might get some tips like on cooking or whatever it is, but it ends there.
John, can you, and it might not be possible to do this yet, because I think part of what excites me about this is I have like some ideas of what I want to learn and what I want to share, but I don't actually know I don't have a vision of like the final shape of this. And I think, like we were talking about before we started recording, it's cool to me that we're just going to get started, and we know maybe the next few steps, and then we'll just see what happens. And that's really exciting to me. But I wonder if, like, what it sounds like to me is that you are trying to find, you're a trainer, you train people, and you have a huge body of knowledge about the body and fitness. Like, is what you're hoping ultimately to are you trying to share that specific expertise with people? What is the thing that you are trying to communicate or connect with people around?
I think one of the things that I want to share with people is what gymnastics and dance has been for me the most of my life, as a pillar that is super solid. I wish I had another adjective for it, but it has never changed. And so whenever there's been a moment of sadness or pain or doubt, I've always been able to refer back to dance, gymnastics, but now it's more broad. So it's a bunch of different movement practices. And I think if more people had keys to go into their body, it would help them understand their world better and work through their relationships more with the people around them. And I think it would create richer experiences. I think what I really want is I want richer experiences for myself. And then as a result, more people can share it with the people that are around them. So I think that's the biggest thing. I want more complexity in the friendships that I create. And I want to be talking about deeper ideas than just the surface stuff that we talk about, which is, small talk, but that's, what happens after small talk.
So you're saying that it's like less about like this isn't like we're cultivating John's fitness philosophy and like branding that and sharing that. You're saying you're trying to create an actual community where you can experience the kinds of relationships that you wish you had more of?
I think that's what I hope to, one aspect that I hope to pull from it, but I want people to see the beauty and the power of their body. And so I want to share that with them because that's kind of important to them. And then as a byproduct, then they feel more in the world. So then they can actually talk and be in the world more with me. And I think that's all I'm looking for.
It's so beautiful. I love that. I wonder if you can talk a little bit to, like, you're talking about dance and gymnastics as I think like a sort of anchor and like meaning making experience instead of a very confusing life.
Yeah, because I've been practicing those two for like at least 20 years and teaching it for like over 10 years, that is a constant in this world where everything is always changing. So that's like the one thing you can always rely on. Everything's always going to change. But if you have a mental infrastructure that you can call upon, and you know that it never changes because it's your body over time, then you have something that is a constant that gives you a sense of place. Whereas so many things are always changing so rapidly, even more now that we have a sense of where am I?
It's kind of like it's the concept of like your body as like home base. And like, what are you doing to be in touch with this, to take care of it, to help it grow? And like, that's always there. That's so beautiful. The thing, as a mental health practitioner, a thing I fantasize about a lot is I work with a lot of traumatized people and a lot of sexually traumatized and otherwise women, and who have like extremely fraught relationships with their body. And I have my own trauma history and my own experience with like body dysmorphia, like, and I'm not necessarily in like a pathological way, but like my body has not always felt like a home, like a place that I feel in control of, or that is a comforting place to be. And I think I have found, there's been like a lot of roads to healing for me, but doing barbell work and spending time in athletic environments with supportive people who provide secure, comforting relationships has helped me heal some of that stuff. And so when I'm at work and I'm talking to people about the discomfort and pain of their bodies, I often have a fantasy of like, if we could just get you in the gym and like moving around, and you could see like, oh, when I do this, my body does that. Like when you start focusing on like, what can my body do, the fantasies you have about its flaws or deficiencies like really fade away, because you're in a practice of getting it to do the thing you want. Does that make sense? So it's less just this like shell you're stuck with and more like a tool.
Yeah, I think it's real in a very concrete way. And a lot of what we're experiencing now through the digital world is real, but also not real. It's just pixels, or it's just light that's coming into your eyes. And so, but it's quite real, and it can make your brain create real energetic and hormonal responses. So it's real, but also I think I want to ground more. I think there's, like even the age of Aquarius where everything's starting to get super airy. A lot of people, they talk about that stuff, that we're entering that age. But I'm like, okay, that's really nice, but also how can we stay grounded? So there's like that dynamic between being really airy and all over the place. And I think that's a part of what we're doing right now, where like I have that tendency to be really airy in my thoughts, and you're helping me anchor. And maybe I'm doing the same for you, but through movement.
How do you feel, John?
Right now I'm really excited that this is coming to fruition. I think about, before I die, because that's how my brain is, I think like, what will I contribute? And I think everyone can contribute a little bit. And I think that's really all it is. We have this tendency to think like there's supposed to be something really grand. And I think if I can just contribute a little bit, then I will have left this place better than when I came in. I think about how many things I am reaping the benefits from other people's hard work and labor. And so I'm happy that right now you're helping me create something real for other people to then, improve their lives. Just like my life has been improved by so many technologies.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. I feel excited at the idea of like creating something and like doing, part of the inspiration for wanting to be like generating good fitness vibes is there's that running group that comes out of here, Rage and Release. And these are people who like smoke weed and then go on runs together through Brooklyn. And it's like the best vibe. And I've run with them sometimes. And while I was doing that, like just feeling so inspired about like, and you can do this at any point. You can like create community, and you can share a pastime, and you can be in relationship with people and help them feel like they can enjoy that thing too. And so I feel really excited about that possibility. I feel a little nervous about like, okay, how am I really going to do this? What do I have to learn? And I also feel excited about this, like brings you and I into a kind of different intimacy. And that's new and a little like, it's not anxious, but it's like, okay, it's like there's like a closeness that gives me, that there's a vulnerability to being close with you in this way. And so I feel that as well.
That's nice of you to share that. You said the one thing about pastime. I think that's a really good phrase that I want to keep in my mind, that it's like it's pastime, and the idea of like there's only the present moment, but our brains can be jumping back and forth between the past and then the future. And there's something nice about that. I wanted to say that. And yeah, I feel really good about the whole, I'm not anxious or anything at all. I'm really excited. I mean, I would love to hear more about that.
I'll make it quick and then we can wrap up, but this is what it is. It's like I can come in here and be like, hey John, how's it going? And then like go lift my weights or whatever, and then we don't talk for 10 minutes, and then we put on music and we just like vibe to that. But this, we're like really, there's a different side of myself, and we're really there is something kind of like this. I want to think more about this. There is something where you can be at the gym and you can be with people without having to really reveal yourself. There's like it's a very defensive. It can be very defended. When we're sitting here and doing this, that kind of falls away. I feel a little revealed to you. Not that I have to like hide from you usually, but it's a different kind of revealing.
Yeah. I don't know. That's really good. I like that. Right. So I'll cut this part out because there's a big gap, but or not. I was thinking about that most of my training growing up, it was for the arts. So it was dance primarily, and gymnastics was the accessory. But I did both at the same intensity. And most of my life, I was like being trained to think of myself as an artist through dance. And I think I finally got to that place where I was doing it professionally. And I think what I was doing professionally was art for one of the jobs, and the other one it was more entertainment. And then I started to think, like, I feel like the whole time I professionally was working, it was more entertainer. I've always had the distinction that I want to create art, and I think this is the first time I'm really using my body to create art, and just the requirement to be vulnerable and to be open as an artist is really exciting. And I haven't had that moment in a couple of years. So I think of what we're doing as like an art project too. And I think there's something more than that we're developing.
Yeah, it does feel generative and creative to me as well. What are we gonna call this? So my idea is, my suggestion is get free bodybuilding. Because like the double meaning of like we will actually be providing free bodybuilding services, and also maybe this can be a liberating space for people, and I think it also telegraphs a kind of like crunchiness that is a place where we meet, I think. What do you think about that?
I like it. I would probably like, honestly, it works for me. I think when I first thought of it, it seemed all right, you know, but the more you break it down for me, I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. What's the crunchiness thing? And then we can end it.
You know, the way we want to like talk about feelings here, and yeah, granola, yeah.
Okay.
And so I think it, it broadcasts that, and that's important to me. You know, these spaces, like fitness spaces, can be so like intimidating and not factor in anything other than the physical. And so I hope that I want to create a vibe where people feel invited in however they are, and that there's also going to be a little bit of emotional caretaking to help facilitate their participation.
Very much so.
All right. So should we call it an episode? Is that it? Okay. All right. See you next Friday.
See ya.